Hello, everybody, welcome. Those are psych investigator. Hello, everybody, welcome. Those are psychic investigator. So, hello, everybody. It is Thursday, May 7th. It's about 7-ish local time. And there are many things to discuss, but I want to talk about something interesting related to this the Iran war situation in the Middle East. And it's about the fact that the relationship between Trump and the Saudis has cooled significantly, and they have turned against Trump and the UAE. Now, the UAE is the country known for Dubai, right? And there has been, for a while now, a rift between the Saudis and the UAE because of their different positions, right? And how the UAE has sided with Israel openly and with the US. As you know, or may not remember, Iran, one of their demands is that the US leave or I don't say abandon all the military bases in that region. And I think they have succeeded, right? The US and the US has left their bases. And I honestly, this is for another conversation, maybe. I think this is part of the plan. I think that's what Putin wanted to weaken the influence of the US in the Middle East overall, right? So we have a weakened military in that area of the world, right? So what happens is because these bases are not being used because they were heavily bombed, then the US has to use airspace from and some bases of the Saudi government and other governments and also their airspace. So what happens is the Saudis have said, no, we're not going to let you do that. So that's a huge escalation, right? And remember that, a couple months ago, Trump was actually speaking at a Saudi conference in Miami, Saudi investment conference, and he mocked MBS. He said, ha ha ha, the guy begs me for, he's always asking me for things. I forgot exactly the words, but it was perceived as a humiliating comment, right? And then it turns around today, just a few days ago, that they're being really open about this. Okay, so wait, I thought, okay, here it is. All right, so let's discuss this. All right. But before I do that, ask for protection. I'd like to ask for protection, a beautiful ray of light coming on top of my head as I breathe in. I fill my lungs. As I breathe out, I create a circle. I create a circle. I step into it. I feel protected. I feel connected. I'd like to ask that information come only from the highest sources, that I create the good and only the good. And so it's so. So here's the article. Okay, so Trump shelved Project Freedom after Saudis refused use of bases in airspace. Riyadh told White House it would deny access for operation to provide tankers military escort through Strait of Hormuz. A refusal by Saudi Arabia to allow the U.S. to use its bases in airspace to provide a military escort for oil tankers passing through the Strait of Hormuz lay behind Donald Trump's decision to shelve the plan days after it had been launched. Riyadh told the White House it would not allow its Prince Sultan Air Base to be used to mount the operation billed as Project Freedom, which the U.S. presented as the successor to the bombing campaign called Operation Epic Fury. Saudi Arabia refused to drop its objections despite a personal call between the Crown Prince and Trump. The confrontation denied by Riyadh underlines Saudi Arabia's desire for a permanent end to the damaging U.S.-Israel war on Iran on almost any terms, in contrast to its more assertive Gulf neighbor, the UAE. In a sign of the Emirates' frustration with Riyadh's caution, the UAE has already quit the Saudi-dominated oil producers club, OPEC, and is now considering leaving the Arab League as well. The UAE is a signatory to the Abraham Accords and has long been closer to Israel. But the tensions within the Gulf have widened as the war has dragged on, causing untold damage to their economies and international image. The Emirates are furious that they have been the biggest target for Iran's attacks, and felt there was insufficient solidarity across the Gulf. Saudi Arabia also feared Project Freedom did not have clear terms of engagement and could turn into a risky naval confrontation between Iran and the US, marking the effective end of the ceasefire that had been in partial force since April 7th. Iran had explicitly said it would treat the US military escort of oil tankers on it or attacks on Iranian shipping as a ceasefire breaches, exposing Gulf states to further attack. Okay. One Saudi diplomat said it was obvious for a long time the US had landed itself in a conflict which it could not neither escalate or exit. They had been surprised on Tuesday when, after spending 2 days building up the significance of Project Freedom, Trump posted a message reversing course. He claimed the operation was being halted for a short period of time by mutual agreements because of great progress had been made towards a deal with Iran, partially due to China. So, and he made no, so that's right, he made no mention of Saudi objections. Now, let me just stop share, and then let's just ask this question here. What is going on, right? What is going on with this war, this fake war? It's so disgusting, right? They're just, I think this war, honestly, it was designed to destroy the US military as much as possible. And that's ridiculous. Okay, but what's going on with that? And what does that mean for Trump's financial schemes with the Saudis, right? And also Jared Kushner gets money from them. What does this mean for their relationship going forward? Yeah, I see him, talking blah 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 blah, big game as usual, because he always thought that other people were gonna, as usual in his life, right? Everybody else foots the bill. He just talks. And when he realizes that everybody is cutting cords with him, from him, like cutting their relationship, and he's alone, suddenly it doesn't look so good because he cannot achieve his objectives. And I see the US Army is not aligned with his goals either. And he just looks ridiculous. And it's saying that he's lost. He knows it. And they're trying to, and I see that people have told him already, there's nothing to gain here. Just stop this ridiculous bullshit. And he continues because he likes to project a certain thing, but the US has lost because there's nothing to gain, really. There was just BS all along. And he knows that he has been used, I think, by Bibi, and he knows how ridiculous he looks if it comes out. I mean, if it's officially declared that he's lost. So, okay, so that's that. Now, what happens? How is this going to end? I see that he likes, okay, wow. He likes to keep this going because of the oil price thing that he exploits and his family makes money from. It's money. And then that's why he's like, he doesn't want to exit this because it's something he can threaten and things go up and down. And he makes money that way. But how does the war actually end? Okay, today is the 7th of May. I see him kind of being pushed out, like being handcuffed, and that's when it ends. Because, like I said, this is really not about a war. It's about an opportunity to make money for him, and that's how he operates. Okay. Now let's go to the Saudis. Now, the Saudis have come out against us, and imagine Trump calls the guy, and he's like, nope, no. MBS said, I don't think so. So what does this mean? I'm really curious about the Saudis' investment in Jared Kushner and a lot of those tech companies, because a lot of those especially the AI companies need a lot of foreign money because it's building hundreds of billions of dollars. So what is going to happen here to these companies because MBS has turned his back against Trump? What are the short, long-term, and long-term consequences? He starts cutting one. Oh, it shows me a lot of cables connecting, and then a Saudi ruler cutting. It's saying it's not going to do it all at once, but he's saying he's a vindictive person and he will do it one by one. And I see as he looks at Jared Kushner and cuts, and he's going to cut. There's investments in his brother Joshua Kushner is supposed to be a somewhat better person, but still he The entire Kushner family benefits from the corruption, right? So I don't feel bad for them, but it's saying they will cut it's saying cut the connections because I see that the Saudi ruler feels betrayed, and it's saying that he is it's a really dangerous person, right? He's scary, and he feels particularly betrayed by Kushner because he thought that they were on the same page, but Kushner just used him for money. And you see, culturally, the Saudi ruler thinks that because again he's a patron of Jared Kushner, that Jared Kushner should have done what's best for Saudi Arabia. And instead it was all empty promises. So I see that he's like mentally he has already cut himself. Like he's not interested. And I see that some of his advisors are like, well, it's a good idea to have investments in these companies in the tech world in general. But he's saying, okay, I can keep the money in some of these companies, but if they have anything to do with Jared Kushner and his family, I don't want anything to do with them. So that's right. It's personal. It's personal for him. Okay. Interesting. Interesting information. Okay, so let's go back here. So tell me about the oil prices in the US and when they're going to go down significantly. Because this is related to the war, right? But still, it's another sort of data point. So what's going on with the oil prices? Very high. Yeah, and I see Trump saying something, it goes down, it goes back up. The volatility is what drives Trump. It's saying that's what these people are doing about this war. It's a way to manipulate the stock market, another way to do it. So how it's saying June, July, things should go down pretty dramatically. And it's saying he's on his way out. And once Trump is, right? And once this whole grift situation is on its way out, it looks like this is likely to end. Okay. Because it's saying it's like basically this guy is using his power to manipulate markets. That's his main goal, really. And once it's out, the whole thing will tend to collapse because there will not be enough to prop the prices up. And it's showing me that Putin also in a terrible situation. There's a lot of people close to Putin who is also manipulating the markets. So the markets are compromised in a lot of ways. And once they go down, so will um, the oil prices and Trump. So that's a story. Okay. Okay, just one other question. What's happening to the UAE now? The UAE, as the article said, is going in opposite direction from the Saudis, and they have sided with Israel, and of course that means that Iran is not happy with them. So, and I saw an article, as by the way, that projected that the Dubai's occupancy rate is going to go down to 10%, and before the war started, it was at 80%. Imagine it's essentially the whole glitter of Dubai is gone, right? Because then how do they even make money? What's the story? So what's going on with Dubai? Anyway, like Dubai is a city in that country. Yeah, people leaving. I see it. No more. It's that's it. Is Dubai gonna go back up? Okay, it shows me that the ruler there is kind of out of touch with reality. And because he has seen the growth of that city as almost like a Middle East version of the West, in the sense of like the sort of like Las Vegas meets business, um, like a bubble, a place like that. But he kind of lost touch with the reality of the actual Middle East. That's where the country is. And he's not listening to the right people that tell him you have to adjust to the Middle East because these are your neighbors. He's not doing that. So he loses. That's right. Oh, I think it's not honestly, guys, it feels like I don't see it rebuilding in the near, there has to be a total shift because it's by the way, it's a very small country, right? And there's Abu Dhabi is a part of it's like basically United Emirates. One of the Emirates, the ones that makes money is Abu Dhabi, not the one where Dubai is. So they could separate, right? So they could separate and just be One. Oh, could just be one of the countries. So it's very interesting. Okay, very interesting. So, all right. So thank you for the listening, and I'll be back soon. Love you guys. Okay.